Well, as we say, the Joburg Mayor, Dada Morero, and Rand Water just wrapping up that briefing on the impact the latest round of water infrastructure maintenance will have on residents of the city. Veronica Makhoali is there as the latest. Veronica, good afternoon to you. We saw a brief part of the briefing. What are the Mayor and others saying about the impact it'll have?
Well, Stephen, it's been another water update, really, just to essentially tell residents what to expect for this third and final leg of the maintenance project, which was, of course, particularly interesting, was that a lot of the bulk work will be taking place in Reservoir areas like Meadowlands in Soweto, Fleurhof, as well as Bramfisher. But we know we spent some time in Meadowlands earlier this morning, speaking to some of the residents about what they are expecting, whether they are prepared or not, and whether information has been given to them about this maintenance work. Well, they say they are aware of it, but very little preparations has been done on their side. And it seems as though for some of the residents, they are anticipating that, as we heard, Joburg Water systems will be recovering, the utility giving itself around 7 days. But residents are bracing really for a longer period. And just to speak to us about how the systems will be operating during this 54-hour maintenance project and really the realities that residents should expect, I'm now going to speak to the head of operations at Johannesburg Water, and Gugulethu Quma. Thank you for your time. I think what everybody wants to know is, will there be alternative water? Where can they find it? And perhaps maybe the number of tankers, because that sometimes is an issue.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to yourself and the viewers. Yes, the maintenance program will commence tomorrow. We've outlined the current plans that we will have. We've got stationary water tankers that we've prepared for Soweto as well as for Reservoir. But there will be roving tankers in this sense. We have a capacity of about 27 that will be roving around Soweto. Soweto entirely will not be affected in the larger Soweto, but portions of Soweto which you've already outlined, like your Meadowlands, will be affected, your Bramfisher will be affected, and your Dorenkop. That section of Soweto will be affected, and those tankers, roving tankers, will be filling some of the stationary tankers that we have there. And we also have a capacity of about 16 that we've prepared for Reservoir. But remember, the plan gives us a flexibility to say this is a capacity that we have, but on the actual, during the maintenance, during the program, we'll be moving those water tankers to the areas of need as the calls come, and we understand the performance of the systems.
Yeah. And then the current state of these reservoirs, particularly those in these areas that will be affected, how are they looking, and how are we expecting them to look once this maintenance kicks off from tomorrow as early as 4 a.m.?
Thank you so much. The reservoirs that we are talking about are currently performing very well, and they are currently at, I will say, healthy. And we haven't been throttling those reservoirs. We've been allowing them to recover and build up, and we want to make sure that they build up as much as possible by tomorrow morning, and they will start gradually filling. While the maintenance program is in place, the reservoirs will be supplying. Perhaps in the afternoon, depending on the size of the reservoir and the consumption, they will start declining, and we will be monitoring them. At the time where they become critical low, like between 1.5 and 1 meter, we'll start closing the outlet to allow the recovery process after the maintenance to be quicker and smoother. So at this stage, all the reservoirs that we are talking about in Soweto, they're supplying fairly normal.
And we know that people often get into crisis mode once they see that low pressure, and then we get to a point where Joburg Water is seeing a situation where demand is higher than you can recover. Perhaps maybe speaking to residents about what they can do to make sure that this maintenance goes smooth, and the likelihood of when they will actually start to feel the impact.
You will notice that we have a couple of direct feeds on the reservoirs that we are talking about in the space of Reservoir, also in Meadowlands as well, also in Bramfisher, as well as Dorenkop. There are direct feeds that are supplying. So the impact will be immediately. When the system is closed, the impact will be immediately. But when the system recovers, those areas tend to recover quicker. But now the water system is quite dynamic. You will notice that the reservoirs decline. The low pressure on the system, the higher lying areas will not receive water, while the low lying areas will receive water until the reservoirs are closed. Also, when we're restoring the normal operation, the reservoirs tends to or rather the water system tend to follow gravity and start supplying the customers that are in the lower lying areas. So we'll be utilizing the capacity that is in the lower lying areas and supply the customers that are on the higher lying areas, and also do some throttling and other interventions to allow the reservoirs to speed up the recovery process within the reservoir capacity so that we can gradually fill the area.
And very quickly, if we can, Gugu, just to talk about the operations of Joburg Water. There are, of course, several projects planned for 2026. We're hoping that this is the year where Johannesburg residents can, without fear, without worry, without the consistent having to protest, be able to receive that sustainable supply of water in their taps. Talk to us about, very quickly, just some of the plans for 2026. I understand that we are finally reaching a point where the Brixton Reservoir, the new Brixton Reservoir, will be unveiled, will be ready for use.
Thank you so much. The program that you are referring to are for the new infrastructure as well as rehabilitating the existing infrastructure. You will notice that in the area of Central, like you've mentioned, Brixton, we've got the reservoir that is being built and the tower that is now at the final stage, ready to be utilized as soon as the commission is realized. You will also realize in Midrand, we've got Midrand is quite growing as far as the suburb is concerned. So we've got programs and a new infrastructure that is implemented there. We're looking at Soweto as well. Soweto have 3 reservoirs that are currently going through a rehabilitation program. That rehabilitation program gives us the opportunity to fully utilize the infrastructure and ensure that we keep on rehabilitation and expand the infrastructure so that it can meet the current demands.
Thank you so much for your time there. That is Gugulethu Quma from the Johannesburg Water. The key word there, Stephen, being infrastructure, infrastructure and infrastructure. This has been the plaguing issue for Johannesburg Water, but also for residents. And you'd understand that this is why this routine maintenance is taking place. You heard them as well saying that it's important that they continue to take it, particularly when there's low economic activity. And this is why the opportunity was taken to take it during the festive season. We also heard from the briefing that phase 2 was not taken. It was only phase 1 and phase 3. That later stage, Rand Water will implement phase 2 of this maintenance work. This is around the June period, winter period. We also, of course, are hearing about the work that is being done for these reservoirs because of the fact that if this infrastructure is not improved, well, it's residents really that have to bear the burden of that. There was also an update, if I can quickly add, about the issue of the contamination of Johannesburg Water being contaminated. They say at this point they want to tick all the boxes and make sure that they can clear that contamination. They say at this current moment, in a few days, they will be able to speak to that particular community as to when and where they can access clean drinking water. But that's the update from this side. Back to you.